All right, hello, ladies and gentlemen. So, in today's episode, I interview Summit Strength client Jenny, who's recently come back from an amazing multi activity adventure over in Western Australia. And in this episode, she talks a little bit about her training and preparation to prepare for the different types of adventures and activities she was ready for, how she worked around certain pain and injury related concerns which were holding her back, and her experiences out in this amazing part of the world, and also her aspirations for her hiking adventures in the future. Now, this is a really interesting episode for anyone who may be looking to get out and do some really cool things, but do find that their body is a bit of a barrier for one reason or another. A really interesting episode. I really hope you enjoy it, and I really do hope a lot of people get a lot out of it. So with this being said, let's get into it. All right. Hello, Jenny, and a big welcome to the show. Really excited to have you on.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
So to kick things off, do you just want to give us a little bit of background? Where are you from, who you are, what do you do, and what is your background in hiking?
Okay, so I live on the Central Coast, which is about an hour north of Sydney, so in New South Wales in Australia. Um, I'm retired now, which is lovely. I was an academic librarian, and previous to that, I was a psychiatric nurse, but that's a long time ago. But academic library, but retired now, which is just gorgeous. And hiking, we go back. I'll go back a bit of a way here. So in my 20s and early 30s, I was hiking regularly, but it was totally unplanned. I had the youth about me, so I would just put a backpack on it, like, oh, that sounds like a good walk. Backpack on and go. I was famous for taking cans of vegetables on the overland track, why you would carry cans, but at the time I didn't know any better. And then around mid 30s, I started to get physical problems like back. The back went for about 5 years, and the knees have never been good. And I've had knee replacements, and I have what doctors say is a lot more arthritis in my body than you expect for somebody my age. Now, I'm 62 now, I should have said. So I had two knee replacements back in 50 when I was 56 and 57. And I had a significant joint problem in my foot. In my 59, 60. Now, I've given that, it's very boring history, but I've given that because it gives an idea of what I've been tackling with in terms of the hiking. So through all that, I kept hiking to what I could do. Generally 7 to 10 Ks. I did manage a couple of really long walks, all supported by knee braces, drugs, lots of pain, and you just get on with it. But following the knee replacements the last 5 years is really recovering from losing all of my fitness. So in the last 5 years, I've been scraping up to try and get to a 5 or a 7K hike, and just been knocked back all the time by injuries occurring. So trying, stopped, trying, stopped. And the injuries are all minor things. They're all just an arthritic joint has decided to play up. So hopefully that gives an idea of where my hiking is. It's very haphazard and I didn't throw in there. I did meet my husband at 35, and he's a hiker, and he was organized, and he would plan trips, and he would talk about having a light pack with all the light gear. And I was all geared to do all that. And then, yes, that's where my back went. So now I feel like at 62, I'm back to the 35 and thinking, yes, I can do this and start from here. Yes.
And before we started working together, before we went through our kind of journey together, around all of that, what was your typical approach to, I guess, training or physical preparation? What did that sort of look like for you?
Well, being a librarian, I'm a very good researcher. So I'd research what would be the right way to train for a hiker. So I would spend about a week training, trying to work out a program around what was happening at that particular time in my life. So looking back, that's a week when I'm not actually doing anything, but I'm trying to work something out. I would then start the program. I would do I always done strength training, weightlifting, that kind of thing. I would incorporate something like walking, hikes to a certain extent, depending on my fitness, swimming, pool, pool walking and pool lap swimming. I've even tried Pilates, some exercise bike, but just stationary exercise bikes. And inevitably, I would start the training program, something would play up, and then I would be in a problem of do I stop? Do I keep going? I usually stopped, rested, then would start again. So if you look over the last 2, 3 years, it's been a start, stop sort of type of pattern with me, and therefore not getting the consistency and not getting the progress for that. Yeah.
And then before we got into contact, what was the adventures that you had decided on? What did you have coming up, and what made you decide on this particular trip?
Um, well, I've always continued to travel and to do things, and if I couldn't do the hiking, because I love being in the national parks and out in the wild, so I would go with my husband wherever we went, and I would start the walk, and I would turn back when I knew this was enough for me, which might be after a K if things are particularly bad. So we planned Ningaloo. So it's quite a wild area. It's on the so the Western Australia, and it's midway up the coast. It's a big country over here in Australia. The Ningaloo Reef is a 600-kilometre fringing reef, and I'd always wanted to go there. I cannot remember when I first heard about it. It's like just always been on the list. And to swim with the whale sharks over there. And I knew that there was a lot of other activities there, such as swim with whale sharks, swim with manta rays. And because it's open ocean and in and out of a boat requires a level of physicality. Kayaking over the reef, snorkeling, and then there are walks there. And I was really keen. I really wanted to do the walks, and yeah, planning to do the walks at the time that I was looking at that. Yeah. Okay. So I went in June this year. So this was at the beginning of the year. We'd planned this, that we would go in June, which is the prime time to go to Ningaloo, and we would spend about 12 days there.
And then what made you decide to reach out for extra help leading into this? And what were the specific things you felt like you knew you needed help with?
So I have actually been stalking you, Rowan. I've been following your podcast and your school app for probably about 5 years. A long time I've been watching, and I have looked at the summit program a lot before, but always felt that I could do it myself. This is something I could sort out myself and organize myself. But I'd reached that point where I thought I am not getting anywhere. So I'd been trying for, 1, 2, 3 years, I've lost count, not really progressing anywhere and struggling. And I thought, if I really want to do this, I have to try something completely different. And this was the completely different. I thought maybe if I wanted to get rid of the noise. So the actual, what do I do if there's a problem? How should the program be put together? What should I do if there's a problem? Any concern? I wanted to get rid of that noise from my head. So all I had to concentrate on was all I've got to do is this session. All I've got to do is this session. All I've got to do is this session. And so that I could work at being more consistent around the training. Because it's not only just putting the program together or troubleshooting when something goes wrong. There's other things in life getting in the way. So, if something goes wrong, you've got to put a couple of days into research to find out, well, why is that left foot hurting and what can I do about it? And then how can I change the programming? And it's just like a vicious cycle. So I wanted to get rid of all that noise and see what it was like to have somebody else deal with that. And then all I had to concentrate on was just doing the workouts. That was my plan. And I felt that Ningaloo was a good goal. I can't remember when I actually joined the program. I'm not very good at what I live very much in the moment, I think. But I think I had a 6-week lead in, and I thought that is a good lead in. And if I can make the walks at Ningaloo, it's a good goal to aim at. They were only small walks. Knew I wouldn't be able to do them and hoped to do them. So I thought that was a good time and a good start point for me.
And tell us a little bit about the training that you did through Summit Strength. Like, what did your program look like? What types of things you were doing there? Talk to us about that.
So I have 5 sessions a week. I have two strength sessions, and I do one in the gym with weights because that's what I like to do. And I had an existing program that was working well for me. And I did one at home, a strength workout at home. And that actually turned out to be, I really liked the strength one at home because it helped with mobility and flexibility. And it was surprising how home workouts without the heavy weights made such a big difference to me. And I like the two. For me, they complement each other because I personally like the heavy weights, but I think they actually, for me, they complement, and it's quite good to have that. I don't know how you would describe them. You would be better at this describing them, but yeah, they really worked well for me. Um, then there was all the cardio that went with the hiking, and it was different to what I was used to. So the loaded pack walks, um, managing loaded pack walks, cycle pickups, or interval training. They were structured different to what I'd read about before, and as I did them, they worked really well for me. I was impressed with the improvements that I got from them. So at no point did I come away thinking that was really, really hard, like too hard, nor did I come away thinking, oh, I've really aching now, I can't go back, which is something that I would get with my own training or with other things that I did. So yeah, that's what I did. And then there was a hike. I personally was programmed with a hike a week, and that was great. We changed how I thought about a hike. I often used to do it on distance, and I would now realize I was walking too fast for me. So it was good to be able to say we based it on time, and time made a big difference for me because then I wasn't so thinking about, oh, I've got another kilometer to go, or I must speed up so I can do it quicker than. It was nice to flip it over and do it against time and how to manage that hike. When you come across problems, you get tired halfway. What can you do about that so that you can carry on? All that information is out there somewhere, but it just takes a level of skill and knowledge and time to bring it together and actually pick out the right amount of information there. So for me, it was great. Handed it me on a platter. Yeah. And recovery
So
and mobility. I will throw that in at the end. There is recovery and mobility, which I will confess, I don't think I've ever done in my life. I've done some stretching, and recovery and mobility is very important.
it's always
Yeah.
funny with that one. It's the shortest session, but it tends to be the hardest one to fit
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
But yeah. So when it comes down to it, no training journey is ever smooth. There's always things that come up. Like throughout the process so far, were there any roadblocks that sort of came up along the way? And if so, how did you go about overcoming them?
Well, it did exactly what I wanted. Whenever I hit anything physical, and it could just be a joint starting to ache for me, which is nothing in the moment, but that joint aching, if I don't address it quickly, can't walk on that foot in a month's time. So anything like that, it was just fantastic because I just hit it straight back to you. And then you would alter the program accordingly to what was needed. If I needed to alter it, and if I did, how to alter it. And that was just fantastic. A really simple example was calf raises. And I've done calf raises for years, and it was playing up my foot. And you said, well, don't do 10, do seven. And I have to say, in all this time, I've never thought of just cutting off a few calf raises. It's such a simple solution, but I'd never done it. And yeah, I would, yeah, do lots of other things. So that to me is where it really paid off. And then things like the lack of, it comes with everything, the lack of motivation, or life gets interrupted, or something happens, and you just stumble. You think, I just want to lie on the settee today and look at the television. Having it all pre-programmed and laid out for me, it gave me a different mindset. I think just one day, just go and do that. It's an hour, just go and do that. Then you can lie on the settee. So because I didn't have all the other noise associated with it, that helped me to focus more on that, particularly if there was something like fatigue around or something. Yeah, I just felt, and also the accountability, somebody else to report to does, even though, if I didn't do it, there's not a lot you can do about it. It just changes that focus a little bit. And I will say the money. You pay for something, you're going to do it. And it's amazing how that will affect you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, when I do the same thing, when there's something I just need to stick with, put a bit of money behind it, and all of a sudden I'm doing it.
I'll pay for that. I'm going to get me money's worth.
So, we've talked about the training, we've talked about the prep. Let's talk about the trip. How did it all go? Give us the rundown, take us through the journey, tell us all about it.
Well, the trip was just fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Um, the main reason being that I was able to maintain the activities with a reasonable physicality, with a reasonable level of fitness, and yeah, achieve what I wanted to do. So I did the swimming with the manta rays and two different trips, manta rays and whale sharks, which I have to say was the most awesome thing. Swimming with these creatures are just beautiful. Silence in the ocean is just wonderful. And the getting onto the boat, off the boat, onto the boat, off to the boat actually worked out really well for me. And I found it okay. I was helped. There's a man there who hauls all the women on. But being able to keep my flippers on and assist and to do that was really good. So whereas I'd gone thinking, if I get one swim, that's great. I got 4 swims, which is a lot for whale sharks. So I was really pleased. Kayaking, I actually physically managed to get myself back into a kayak from the ocean, which I've never ever been able to do before. I had a very good guide and he talked me through the techniques for it. But again, that physicality to do that. And then lastly, the 3 walks. We had 4 walks planned. Sadly, the biggest one, which would have been the biggest challenge of 6 kilometers, was closed because they'd recently had a cyclone through, and so there was too much destruction to do that walk. But the other 3, it doesn't sound a lot. They were only 2 to 3 kilometers. They took 2 hours. That's what the Park Service said it would take. Grade 4, and it's because they were very short, steep sections up and down, only short. They were a challenge for me, but I'm pretty certain I would not have done them if I hadn't done that 6 weeks training. So I was able to do the walk, feel confident in that going up and down, and then feel confident to go on to the next one and then the next one. So yeah, 12 days of very, very active, and the walks it was just so lovely to be able to go out and do the hikes. Yeah.
And through the trip and through everything, like, it sounds awesome what you got to do. Were there any, I guess, major challenges you faced? Anything that came up along the way that kind of got in the way of things, or you had to overcome?
I've probably just said that. It was the steep sections were an issue for me because I don't do stairs a lot because of where I live. We live on single story and everything tends to be flat. So the steep sections were like I was quite hesitant about them, particularly going down. But yeah, I just concentrated on how to do that and using poles, taking smaller, just worked at thinking about the muscles that I had and that I could do that particular thing, the downwards part. The ocean. Well, I said about getting in and out of the boat, and that proved to be okay. So, yeah, there were small challenges all along the way, but I'm pretty good at once I'm in the situation, I will keep going. I suppose actually one of the things I didn't say is I didn't take any anti-inflammatories. And in every single trip I've ever been on, I normally, within a day or 2, start on anti-inflammatories and take them for the entire trip. And that's without doing the physical stuff that I did do. So taking that, I've got quite a lot of arthritis happening, and yet I was managing to do all that. It is, for me, quite significant that I managed to still do it and not have to take any anti-inflammatories, which was excellent. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And I guess coming out the other end of this, successful adventure, what's next? What's the plan of Attack for Adventures? What's on the agenda? What do you get ahead of yourself next?
Well, I've got in August, I'm going to what they call the Red Centre. So I'm going to Alice Springs, And then I'm going to travel down to Kings Canyon and to Uluru, which some people overseas might know as Ayers Rock. So it's the heart of Australia, and there's some big walks on that. There's, well, not so much big walks. There's 2, 3 days where I will be doing multiple short walks within a day, but then those days are back to back. So if you look at the amount of kilometers over the time frame for me is quite a lot. And I think from memory, the biggest walk, it's a grade 4. And it's about 6 or 7 kilometers. It's the rim walk. Everybody knows the rim walk at Kings Canyon, who's a hiker in Australia, and it's the getting up to the rim that is apparently very steep. And that's what I'm hoping to do. So I'm going in August, so that's the next 6 weeks for training. And what you don't know yet, Rowan, is that we are on the cusp of finalising booking for a trip to Flinders Island, which is north of Tasmania. And there's several walks on Flinders Island that I really want to do. So, yeah, for this year, that's the plan. Long term, I'm looking at Iceland and Antarctica. Iceland, I'd like to do some of the hiking, not just be in a city. I'd like to get out into the remoter areas. And ultimately, longer hikes and maybe multi-day hikes, I'm hoping. Yeah. So just progressing onwards and upwards. There's always somewhere to walk that needs to be walked. Yes.
Fantastic. And there's so many awesome options there. And that's super exciting for the longer term plans. You said you hadn't mentioned them before, so that's great.
Yeah.
And I think, you're well on your road to making all of them happen, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fingers
fantastic.
crossed.
Yeah, that's it. So one of the reasons I wanted you on this podcast today, not just to have a chat about the story, which is awesome to hear, but I know there are so many people listening to this podcast who I guess were in a similar situation, similar challenges, similar barriers, similar things they wanted to be doing. Um, if anyone was listening to this today who was in a similar situation to you, wanting to do similar types of adventures or challenges or build up to different things again, what advice would you personally give them?
I would say give it a go. Sign up to Summit Strength. I mean, to me, the consistency has been fantastic and the support has been fantastic. I have tried so many things and not really got there or managed it. And over this period of time, the thing that's really struck me is the consistency of the workout is so important. And then managing the load versus my capability. So that is really probably what has nailed it. It's not the actual, well, it is the types of training and everything. It's multiple prongs. But for me, what I don't think I could ever nail was what sort of load should I be doing for my own personal capabilities. And I think everybody knows when they're in pain, you're really difficult to think about anything else but the pain. So yes, I would highly recommend it. I have a weird way of thinking about money. I'm going to mention money because it comes down to that for everybody, I think. I have a weird way of thinking about money, and I think if somebody said to me, give me, I'll say $500. I don't know because prices change, and I won't say prices, but if you're thinking about money, I twist it and I think, well, if somebody said to me, give me X amount and in 6 weeks you can walk, I'd say, here's the money. Or I'd think, well, if I go and see a physio, it's $200. If I go and see a chiro, it's, $180. And they all add up. And at the moment, I've not had to see anybody. So I try to think of the money in terms of what it saved me in terms of anti-inflammatories, in terms of visits to health professionals and that. And then also what I'm willing to pay in order to improve my own health and to do what I want to do in life. It's just been so rewarding to be able to get out and actually do what I actually want to do in life, which is hike instead of, not being able to hike. I'll raise a tear in a minute. Oh, she could hike.
That's absolutely awesome to hear. And I really appreciate you sharing all of that because, as I said, I know so many people listening are just have similar things going on, and just hearing stories of building up to this stuff and opening up and unlocking things, like, it's just going to be so inspiring. So I
Yeah.
really do appreciate you coming on and sharing all of this. And I think we covered some really, really great stuff. So I guess before we wrap things up today, beyond what we've covered already, was there anything else that we haven't had a chance to touch on that you wanted to add, or anything else you wanted to chat today?
I don't think so. I think people who are out there that are like me, 62, bit overweight, got lots of arthritis and got lots of aches and pains, I'd say just keep trying, because you'll not get anywhere unless you just keep trying. And every little thing that you do is a positive, even if it's just getting up and going out for an hour's walk down the road or a 30-minute walk down the road or whatever you can manage. It's a positive and it's leading you in the right direction. And that's pretty much, if you look at what I've done, it's that steady increase, steady slope upwards towards achieving what I want to achieve. Yeah. But no,
Yeah.
hopefully that's wise words.
Yeah, sounds wise to me. So there you go. Well, Jenny, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I think this has been super interesting and so great to hear a little about your story, your journey, everything you've got going on. And we will definitely have you back on, when you tick off some of these longer term goals as well, to get a little bit of an update as you go through. But it's been such a pleasure having you on. So thank you for taking the time. Thank you for sharing everything. And yeah, really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.
So there you go, guys. I really do hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Last thing I want to say, as I always say, is if you were someone in a situation similar to Jenny and you were interested in learning a little bit about the online personal training that we use to help people get fit, strong, and resilient for their adventures, and the exact systems and ideas that Jenny used to prepare for hers, I would love to chat with you. If you want to learn a little bit more about our online personal training, you can go to summitstrength.com.au/online. On that page, there's a big video, talks a lot about our programs. And if it sounds like something you want to learn a little bit more about, there's a link on that page. You can book a free call with our team and we can have a chat from there. So with that being said, thank you for listening. Hope you've enjoyed it and we'll talk to you very, very soon. Bye.